A huge thank you to patron Adam Wetstein for suggesting today's video topic. If you want to suggest a topic for next Wednesday's Name Explain video, all you have to do is spot Name Explain on Patreon for $1 a month. Find out more by visiting patreon.com/Name Explain, which will be linked down below. Anyway, baseball is a personal favourite sport of mine, and one steeped in history and tradition. Also, the Major League Baseball playoffs are happening as we speak, though my team of the Cardinals didn't make it, so who actually cares? Baseball is an interesting sport. While its popularity is primarily centered in just one country, the USA, it has made a huge impact on the wider world, with the majority of that impact being in the form of language. There are so many idioms, phrases, and expressions that have their origins in the sport, ranging from some super obvious ones that clearly derive from baseball, to other terms that are widely used in language that you may not even be aware that they ultimately derive from baseball. In most cases, these baseball idioms have their origins in American English, the form of English which derives from the USA. But as the USA is so influential on the world stage from political power and cultural power, it means that many of these terms have found themselves in other versions of English too. Like here in British English, if you said something was a home run, people would know what you mean, despite the fact that baseball isn't anywhere near as popular here. Though we do have baseball, like Plymouth has its own diamond and team. Go Mariners, go. Baseball's impact on language most likely derives from the fact that the sport in the USA is immensely popular, and while still enjoyed today, in the past its popularity was like tenfold. For the longest time in the USA's history, especially in the first half of the 20th century, baseball was the sport of the USA. Today it's either the second or third most popular sport in the country, behind basketball and football. Baseball's reign as the USA's #1 sport started to dwindle in the 1960s. It was here that American football started to overtake it. But as baseball was literally everywhere in the past, it's easy to understand why terminology of the game has ended up being applied to various other aspects of life, resulting in the many baseball idioms we have today. I have my own personal theory, however, as to why baseball in particular has become so abundant in English, and it all boils down to the way baseball was consumed during its peak of popularity. In the early 20th century, you could of course go to an actual game and watch baseball live, but not everyone had that chance. If you couldn't make it to a game, you would instead listen to it on the radio. Baseball and radio have a long history with one another in the USA, with the sport becoming a fixture of stations across the country. The sport is a natural fit for the medium too. With the long length of the game and the large amounts of downtime the sport has, it means it was easy enough to follow along with, especially with a skilled commentator or two at the helm. In the past, people would have had baseball games playing on the radio for hours at a time, with the commentators explaining what was happening. All of this baseball terminology would have been going straight to the ears and minds of listeners, making the phrases easy to use in wider language. Though that's just my own theory on the matter, but elements of it add up. Like the reason baseball started to falter in the 60s is because TV becoming way more popular, and the emergence of TV saw American football readily available to watch. Many people turned off their radios and stopped listening to baseball, and instead turned on their TVs to watch football. So while baseball might not be the go-to sport of the States anymore, it has cemented itself in history and language with many idioms. One I mentioned up top was a home run. This is a supremely obvious one. Everyone knows what a home run is, right? Like we've all played Wii Sports here. In life, you can refer to something other than a good hit of a baseball as a home run when it goes successfully. Like if you make a tasty pie and everyone loves it, you could say that pie was absolutely a home run at the party. If that pie was really good, like the best pie you've ever eaten, then you could tell the maker of the pie that they knocked it out of the park. This has a similar meaning to the idiom of a home run, meaning something was really good, and it derives from an exceptionally good hit of a baseball that literally knocks it out of the park. The park in this case being the arena in which baseball is played, as they are known as ballparks. Ballpark unto itself has become an idiom and expression too. We use the word ballpark to refer to a rough approximation of something. Like if someone asks you how long it would take to build a house, you might say something like in the ballpark of 2 years, or 2 years is a ballpark figure. This derives from the idea of a baseball being within the approximate boundaries of a ballpark when hit during a game. As a ballpark is quite a large area with certain parts of it being considered in play, it's understandable as to why I would start using literal ballparks in this more metaphorical manner. This phrase can be used in all different kinds of ways too. As well as being metaphorically within the ballpark, you can be completely outside of the ballpark too. Being outside the ballpark or even in the wrong ballpark means you got an estimation or idea completely wrong. Like Like if you insisted it would take just 2 days to build a house, someone would most likely tell you that you're in the wrong ballpark. It's a terrific example of just how much we can play on this baseball expression in language. A scene of dialogue from the film Pulp Fiction takes this concept to the extreme. I definitely can't share it here due to the language and content, but if you've ever seen the film, you know the scene. A specific part of the ballpark which is featured heavily in expressions is the left field. If you refer to something being left field or out of the left field, it means that it's something unexpected or unusual. Once again, if you are making a pumpkin pie and someone suggested you add salmon or tuna into the mix, that would be a really left field suggestion. This derives from the concept of the left field in baseball. This is the left portion of the field obviously, and it's usually guarded by someone playing the left fielder position. In a game of baseball, the ball doesn't tend to be hit into this part of the field all that much, with batters tending to aim more centrally. So if a ball flies off to the left field, it is way more unexpected or surprising, hence why the term has become used in wider language. Another part of the playing field that have become a mainstay in idioms are the bases. These are the areas of the pitch where players run to after hitting the ball, and conversely the other team want to get the ball to a base to get a batter out. It's from this idea we get the expression of covering all your bases. In language we say cover all your bases to imply you have thought of every possible outcome, e.g. if you were planning a dinner party and didn't know the dietary requirements of all your guests, you could make food with meat in it, some veggie food, some vegan food, some gluten-free food, some lactose-free food, and everything in between to cover all your bases. This derives from the idea in baseball that you want to have all your actual bases covered, so you can easily eliminate any of the batting team. The individual bases themselves have entered wider language too, and are used in a very different way to how they are in baseball. First, second and third base are used as metaphors for how far along you are with someone in a romantic relationship, shall we say. This relationship progress mirrors the progress a batter makes across the bases before scoring a run. The expressions are incredibly commonplace, especially in teen-centric movies of the 90s and 2000s. What first, second and third base specifically refer to, however, we shan't dive into here, as there's a lot of debate as to what means, and much of it isn't particularly family friendly, but feel free to debate what they mean down in the comments below. Personally, for me, getting to third base is the stage we can just sit in silence and watch TV together. That's the true goal in any relationship. Baseball metaphors are used a lot in human relationships, like there's a whole Wikipedia page for them. Another interesting one, which is the complete opposite of the bases concept, is the phrase out of my league. We can use this phrase in many ways, like calling a new job out of your league, but on the whole it relates to relationships. Someone can be referred to as being out of your league if it seems like there is no chance you are able to have a relationship with them, maybe because they are seen as more attractive or popular or more successful than you. Once again, it was a mainstay on 90s and 2000s teen comedies. This idea relates to the league system of baseball, and if you aren't good enough to play, you won't ever stand a chance to be in the more professional leagues, aka the big leagues, with big leagues also being a term unto itself too. Many other terms in baseball that have received wider usage derive from the pitching and hitting of the ball too. A big or heavy hitter in baseball is someone who is known for sending the ball flying, and we can refer to someone or something that does well by the same terms too. E.g. if a party goes down well, you can call it a big hit, and likewise someone who is very important can be referred to as a heavy hitter. Then we also have a term like hit or miss, which derives from baseball too, in reference to someone whose hitting record isn't the best. In wider language, we refer to something as being hit or miss if it's only good in parts. Like if only a few of the songs on a new album are really good, you could call it hit or miss. Then we have the various types of balls we use in language too. Oftentimes we use specific kinds of baseball pitches as a metaphor for kinds of questions. A hard ball is a kind of pitch in baseball that is difficult to hit, and we can refer to a tough question as a hard ball. On the other end of the spectrum we have a softball. A softball in baseball is easy to hit, and a softball question is easy to answer. Then we have a curveball too. In baseball, a curveball is one that spins in the air in an unexpected way, and a curveball question is one that is really unexpected too. A screwball in baseball is one of the rarest kinds of throws, one that goes in a really unexpected direction. We use screwball in language not as a type of question, however. Screwball instead has become a term for a kind of comedy. A really zany, off-the-wall comedy film could be described as a screwball. Think of something like the Three Stooges or something. They are very screwball. The term is now deeply linked with comedy, but it does indeed have its origins with baseball. But one of the terms that shocked me the most was rain check. I had no idea this term has its origins in baseball. In language, we use rain check to mean we have to skip out on something we're committed to and do it another time. Like if you promise to meet someone for a coffee but then can no longer do it, you would tell them you have to give them a rain check and meet another time. This comes from a free ticket spectators were given if their game was cancelled, in most cases due to rain. The ticket would allow them to come watch a later game as a make good. It's easy to see how this became used in language as a whole. Many of these terms entered language as they were used by a lot of people, but one baseball player in particular made a very unique splash on language, Yogi Berra. As well as being a hugely celebrated player, he was known for saying some very odd and amusing phrases, with these phrases being referred to as Yogiisms. His most known of one is "It ain't over till it's over," which has become widely spoken, but other brilliant phrases he uttered include "You can observe a lot by watching," "Predictions are hard, especially about the future," "The future ain't what it used to be," "90% of the game is half mental," and "Always go to other people's funerals, otherwise they won't go to yours." This is just a few of the terms that baseball has given English, and while baseball is deeply linked with the USA, it's not the only country where it's popular. The sport is also widely enjoyed in Japan. Baseball arrived with American expats in the 19th century, and the game has taken on a life of its own there. Baseball phrases are even used in Japanese now too. A great example is with the term Gayakoten Homeran, which means in baseball a home run scored from behind. Its metaphorical meaning in Japanese is to have some success after failure. Now hopefully this video has been a big home run with all of you who enjoy baseball, and maybe never realised just how much of an impact it has had on language around the world. Personally, I think this video has been an absolute touchdown. Wait, that's the wrong spot. Never mind. Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos, and your name at the end of the video with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/Name Explain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT, and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.